How you doing? It's Luke. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can create this local development environment, just like ChatGPT, but for coding, and you can plug in whichever LLM you normally use. You can also use Ollama, where you can then download models onto your own computer and have them run locally, and then you have a completely secure environment. I'll bring them in so you can see. Secure environment in which you have LLMs running and able to interact with them and write code offline. I say secure because I don't know if they're talking back or not via Wi-Fi connection, but if you turn your Wi-Fi off, then you'll know. So anyway, what is Bolt, which is this platform here? Well, Bolt is a platform where you can prompt, run, edit, and deploy full stack web apps. Now, they have a web version, Bolt.new, and in here it's obviously the best version that you can get. However, it is pretty expensive. For example, here's the pricing. The Pro version, 10 million tokens, $20 a month. Pro 50 is 50, Pro 100, 100, Pro 200 is 200. You can see the tokens are 10, 26, 55, and 120 million, which sounds like a lot, but you actually use more tokens than you think. So for example, in this video here, this guy on No Code MBA, this simple app he makes here, they say there's a bit of back and forth, but not too much, cost him like 3 million tokens. Now, from my example, when I've made a simple to-do list app, which was just like 2 messages back and forth, it cost me 82 cents, and it was about 340,000 tokens. Now, the reason that it's so expensive token-wise is because you don't just send a prompt, there's like an entire contextual system prompt that gets sent. But anyway, that's too much information. So, in a previous video, I used just ChatGPT. However, in today's video, we're going to obviously use Bolt to make something. Because this here is how I started looking into all this no-code stuff. I still advise ChatGPT if you're brand new to this and you don't really know what to do and you want to use something for free, especially if you want it to be pretty decent. Anyway, so check out that video if you want. How do we make this environment here? So, what you do is you go to Bolt.DIY, so it's a GitHub repo, but if you just go to Bolt.DIY, click enter, and then it takes you to this GitHub repo, and you're wanting to clone this to your local machine. So GitHub's a place for code, and this is all the code for this Bolt.DIY, which is your version of Bolt that you can have on your laptop running completely for free. So we go to code, and then here we can click on that, and we want to clone this. So then you want to open up a terminal, or the best way I suggest is downloading VS Code. So this here, code, VS Code, Visual Studio Code. This is where it's a code editor, so it's made for coding. I advise to get that. Once you've downloaded VS Code, you then come to this terminal, git clone, and then put it in here, and that will clone the repository. Now this is the repository that I've already done here, Bolt.DIY, as you can see. And so from in here, we can follow the instructions to run it. So if we scroll down on the README file here, so whoops, that's what this is here. This is the overview of the entire project. If we scroll down, you can see running the application. So, oops, it's jumped me back up. We have 2 methods of running the application. Number 1 is the direct installation. So this is recommended for beginners, which is just using pnpm, so npm install, and then install the dependencies. So this is the other libraries or projects that this project uses, because as with all coding, you're on the shoulders of giants and all that. And then you start the application via this. Now the problem with that is that it installs these project dependencies into your actual machine, and then you always have them there. You don't want them always there. You only want them within the confines for this Bolt. And that's why you have something like Docker. So that's the way we're going to use it today, is using Docker. Now, Docker, as you can see, it says it's a more isolated environment. So essentially what it does is it containerizes the application, which means when you install the packages, it installs the packages into this container, so that then when you don't want them anymore, you can just delete the container and the entire thing goes away. If you want to run it, you can run the container, etc. As opposed to the one before where it then embeds itself into your computer. So to do this, you first have to download Docker. So I'm on Mac, so I have to download Docker Desktop. You could download it from the command line if you're on Windows or Linux. But so you download Docker Desktop, and it brings up this type of application here. You honestly don't have to worry about this. If you're more interested in Docker, I do have a video on the channel explaining it. It's like a masterclass in Docker in like 40 minutes, but you don't need to know anything about it really for this tutorial. So you can download Docker. Then once you've downloaded it, you want Docker to be up and running. So make sure that you have it up and running. I'll show you mine here. That's what it looks like. There we go. We have it up and running. And so what we're going to do is deploy our application through Docker. So the way to do that is you want to first build the Docker image, which is using this command, npm run docker build, and then docker build here is the way to directly do it instead in Docker. So one of these, just use the bottom one because we're using Docker. And then run the container, and you just wrote docker compose -- profile development up, and that will start up the container. So I'll show you here. If I come back here, I'll go to my other terminal. If I scroll up, show you the command. So that's it here, docker compose. So we do the first one first, so you can just highlight it and then right click, copy. You can also use this, but if you use that, it would copy the entire thing, and we only want to run one or the other. So then once you've run that, you run that, and then it will be up and running like this. You can see here, blah, blah, blah. And so it hosts it locally or on the network. We're going to use local. I haven't really had network actually really work. It's pretty slow. So anyway, we go here, localhost. That just means your own computer. So it's running on your own computer. And it looks like this, just like I'd shown you. So I'll show you the first way, which is to use it using OpenAI's API key, or whichever you want to use. You could use DeepSeek, for example. And then the second time, we'll show you using Ollama, which is the way to run everything here solely on your computer. But do remember for that, you're running large language models, and so you're doing a lot of inference, you need a lot of compute. You know, for reference, I tried to run it with a 7 billion parameter model, and it just did not work at all. I'll put that in here. So let's go to OpenAI, since that's the one that I would normally use. And from here, I already have an API key set up. If you want to set your own one up, or if you haven't got one set up, it would show you something like this here. So say for instance for DeepSeek, you can select which one you want to use, but we can't run it yet because we have to have this API key, which is just the key to basically use DeepSeek. So it's a key to say that it's us, we want in, let's use it. The only thing is with API keys, you do have to pay per token normally, but DeepSeek is much cheaper than OpenAI, so possibly use it, but just remember whenever you're using these APIs that they're probably storing all your data. So everything you've ever done using their API, they store all of it. So just be wary. So anyway, click on Get API Key on any of the models here, and it will automatically open you up like this. Oh, that one's under maintenance. So I'll show you. We'll go back to OpenAI. That's not going to show me because I'm already logged in. Let's go to Perplexity then. Anyway, you get API key and it will open up directly to the API portion of the website. So, for example, the OpenAI one, it would open us up to somewhere like this here. And then you click Create New Secret Key, give it a name, click Create Key. We're just going to give it all permissions because we want it to be able to interact fully with our ChatGPT instance. And then it'll give you a key. And then you copy that key, and we'll go back to Bolt. And then in here, you would click on the pencil and paste that in here, and then click OK. And then it would save your API key. Alternatively, you could add it into the environment file, so this env.local file here. But if you're brand new to all this, don't worry about doing that. Just do it straight in the UI. And then from here, let's now show you what it can do. So, for example, down the bottom we have build a to-do app, build a simple blog, create a cookie consent form. Cool. Make a Tic-Tac-Toe game, make a Space Invaders game. So I think, don't use too many tokens, but let's just make a simple Tic-Tac-Toe game. Or you could obviously type something in here. You can also, by the way, import chats, import folders, or clone a Git repository. So like if you already have code that you want to interact with, you could just inject it directly in here through importing. So let's make a Tic-Tac-Toe game. Let's see what happens. So it started to interact with our OpenAPI OpenAI API. And you can see here it's now popped up the workbench where you have the code in the preview. You can see that it's creating these files and it's populating them. And on the left-hand side, this is the chat, so it's telling us what it's going to do. And yeah, you can just watch it literally coding everything up. And then once it's done, we'll click on preview and it'll show up there, but it's still working away. We also have up here, download the code, sync files, toggle a terminal, or push to GitHub. If you click sync files, we can then save this locally so that it continually updates it. And so we're in this dev environment. If we click new folder, and say in here we'll go Tic-Tac-Toe game, click create. Now we have this folder. If we select that, let's see, view files, save changes. And so now this code is saved in that folder. So any edits will be made here will reflect in the folder. So it's completely synced up, which is cool. So anyway, let's go to preview and see what it looks like. No preview. Why not? Let me see. So the setup includes blah, blah, blah. So I'll say that I can't see it on preview. So let's talk back. Say, can't see it. Preview. Let's see. Da-da. Right, there we go. So it has just made it just like that. There's like two messages. Amazing. So tic-tac-toe. So let's click one. Then zeros telling us to change here. We'll randomly select. There we go. It's a draw. Wonder if anything happens if you win. No, nothing. Then restart again. But there you go. And that's how simple it is. Whoop. That's how simple it is to make an app. And this is locally, but using OpenAI. So say now instead we want to use our own one because OpenAI is now getting our data. So instead what we can do is this here, this should all be fine. Let's just make sure the files are synced. Let's click sync files. They should be, but I just paranoia. And then if we go back to Bolt.DIY, cool thing is also on your left here, you can now go down here and you can interact back with any of these chats, like so. But anyway, if we go back to here, now let's look at how to host this fully locally using Ollama. So on here, you want to click Ollama, and then here it will pop up with what you have available. So the way to get Ollama is go to ollama.com and then download it. It's a place to, or it's a place, it's a service/framework that you use to get up and running with large language models. So essentially you just click download Ollama, and then from there you can download models like DeepSeek, for example. And the way you can download it is Ollama run DeepSeek. That will download it and run it, but we can just download it, in which you'd say Ollama pull DeepSeek. And again, once you've downloaded Ollama, you just copy this, go to terminal. Let's open another terminal up. You can just write it in here, press enter. But do beware, when you're using this, check here, this is the number of parameters, so this is just the size of the model that you're downloading. If you're running on a normal PC, so for example, like, I'm on this M1 Mac, I think it's from like 2022, and I basically can't run 7 billion parameter models. Not with 30 Chrome tabs or something as well, at least. So downloading a 1.5 billion if you're on a normal machine is probably the best way to go, or upgrade your machine and run it on like a 7, 8, or maybe 14. That's it. Like, do not go any higher than that. It just will definitely not work. So anyway, the way to download it would be that, and then download. Do note as well, on Ollama there's a bunch of models, so you can have a look, have a Google, and you can see which one you want to use. For example, like if you use Tiny Llama, so that's trying to be like a compact model. So you can see here it's only 600 megabytes. This is the one we'll try and run today. So before you run it, you do have to update this. You do have to update this env local file because we have to add in the base URL for Ollama. So Ollama as a service, when it runs, so I'll show you here. I have Ollama list. So this is the ones that I have downloaded. As I was saying, you do the Ollama pull, right? Oops. Just have to tell you first. Ollama pool, and then if you want to run it as a like a chatbot just in terminal, you can Ollama run and then the name of the model. So like this here, and that would run that one. Actually, let me show you just briefly. If you want a better explanation of all of this, I'll have a video covering how to do this, but I'll just show you briefly. Because, you know, you don't want to click on other videos if you don't need to. And so here I can say like, whatever, you know, and then it'll go and do some info, like an actual chatbot, which is cool. And then that at the end to get out. And then what we want to do is, if we do Ollama serve, what this will do is this is saying, right, Ollama, I want you as a service to be available on my machine. And so you can see here it's on 127.0.0.1, which is your machine's IP address. It's the same for everyone because it's like a loopback address. It's basically just referencing your actual machine. So like on the internet, this doesn't exist. This is to your machine. And it's on this port, which is just one of the input-output portions of your machine, essentially. So this here, 127.0.0.1.11.434, that address is where we would go to get the API for Ollama. Again, I have a video, more explanations than this, but just paste that in here, and that is our API base URL. So that's looking all good. Let's go back to Bolt. Let me refresh this page, make sure that's all looking good. Ollama, and then here it should drop down with everything, but it appears not to have. Let me see. Well, is it going to work? What if I type it in here? No. So I don't know why the drop down is not working. Let me check. So I think it could be this here. We need another env file. Check. Yes, Ollama API base URL. Let's go. And we'll cancel that service. And we'll restart it again. It should automatically do it, but just to make sure. And so basically here I've made a new .env file. So this is the one that the main application can reference. Let me refresh and we'll see if that's pulled it through. If I'm that, see, file, there we go, that's it popped up. And then we'll wait here. And this, there we go, it's pulled through. Perfect. So for reference as well, this is just going to be as slow as your machine can handle, pretty much. So if you don't have a good machine, you probably won't be able to do it that well, but it's a proof of concept, you know. It's cool because this ability to run it locally, and then also like DeepSeek, the ability for that to run with such low hardware, is meaning that it's becoming much more plausible for normal people to spend, you know, a few £1,000s and run an okay model, which, you know, was unheard of just a week ago. So anyway, Tiny Ollama, and let's see, we'll make a Tic-Tac-Toe game again, and see what it does here. So it might take ages, actually. So, word of warning, it just crashed my computer. Or not my computer, crashed my recording. So, you know, but again, I have a bunch of tabs open and I'm recording and stuff, so maybe it doesn't work then. But now you know how to do it. If you've got a good computer, give it a try. If you don't, use an API key. But just for reference, whilst we're here, let's have a quick look and see. It tells me how much I've used, because sometimes the real time isn't very good. But for that Tic-Tac-Toe game, it's not going to tell me, is it? Apparently it was 3 cents. I'll put it in the comments if it was more than 3 cents. If it was not more than 3 cents, then maybe just use that. Or ideally use DeepSeek if you're not using confidential information and you don't mind the Chinese bias. Anyway, so there you go. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Right, it's Look from the past. This is loading. This is all that it's loaded from this prompt. And it has been over an hour. The 7 billion parameter model. So this is on the M1 chip, whatever the standard £1,000 MacBook is. So yeah, don't run 7 billion model. But if you do encounter the error, just go to your VS Code, click on the terminal, then Control and C, and it'll gracefully stop the container. It may take a minute, and if it's taking too long, if it's just ruined your entire computer, just continually Control C, or, oh, there we go. Or you can just restart your computer. So there you go. This is back in the land of the living. Let's get back to the video.